Hello, freight broker family. I hope you're well today. I hope your families are well. Another beautiful day is upon us, and I hope that you are just as excited or even more excited than I am about the opportunities that lie ahead for us. So, with that said, let's get into the business this morning. Today, I want to talk to you about why I would not start a freight broker business and a trucking business simultaneously, right? I would not do that. Now, that does not say that's not something that you should do. I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't start both of those businesses at the same time. I know it kind of seems like it passes a common sense test. If I'm a truck driver, I have some experience in trucking, then I decide to say, hey, you know what? I don't have any experience in brokering, but with what I know about trucking, I can put those together and I can probably do really well as a trucking company and a freight brokering business combined. That might pass the common sense test for some people. As a matter of fact, some people may even flourish doing that. But in my opinion, that's not something for most people to do. Most people should not start both of those businesses at the same time. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why I wouldn't start the freight broker business and the trucking business simultaneously. So come on inside, sit back, relax, and let's get down into the business. All right, so starting a trucking business or a freight brokering business, either or, is a major undertaking, right? There's a lot that comes with starting a business, especially if you don't have any experience on the trucking side or on the freight brokering side. We're talking about going into a business, starting from zero in both of those businesses and not having any experience, not knowing anything about it. That is going to be really difficult, right? And even if you have experience, as a trucking company, if you've been in that company for some time, and now you're going to add a freight brokerage to that, that still would be a major undertaking. And the reason why that is because you're going to be in between two businesses, right? You're already running your trucking business. Now you have to take yourself away from the trucking business and spend time on building the freight brokerage business, because it will certainly require you as the catalyst to be able to push that business forward. So the problem comes because there's not two of you, there's only one of you as a human being. And you can't, unfortunately, split yourself in two to run both of those businesses. And what usually happens is one of those businesses dominate your time. You're either doing more and way more on one side than you're doing the other. The other is not getting the attention, and you just have that business. You're paying for it, but it's not really doing anything. That's what I see a lot of times with truck drivers. They'll start a freight broker business and they say, hey, I'm going to cut the freight broker out. I'm going to go direct to carriers, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. That is a good thing if you decide to go that route. But the bad part about it is you don't spend time in the freight brokering business. You don't spend time in moving that business forward. You don't put serious time into the freight brokering business, so it never gets off of the ground. So you end up having a business that you're paying for, but you're not doing much of anything with it. And the same is true for freight brokers who start truck driving businesses. Let's just say you've started your freight broker business, you've gotten it off of the ground, and now you say, hey, I feel like I would be in a better position if I go and get my own assets and start a freight brokerage with its own assets. So you have a freight broker and a trucking company, right? But usually what happens in most cases, when you start a trucking company, now that trucking company dominates your time and you're not giving any time to the freight brokerage. So we have to really look at this and understand what the requirement is, what it is going to require of you. If you know you can put yourself in between both places, if you feel like you're good at multitasking and you can build two businesses at one time, go for it. But make sure you look at that really closely. Don't fool yourself. Don't go into something saying, oh, I'm just going to step out on faith, because that's not going to get you the result usually that you want, just stepping out and doing something without understanding what it is that you're getting into. Now, I must admit, I've been in the freight broker business now for about 7 years, and I've given a lot of thought to becoming an asset-owned freight broker business, because that's really the next step for a freight broker. A non-asset freight broker is to become an asset-owned freight broker. We know that if we have our own assets, we have a bigger customer base. We have access to a bigger customer base because some shippers work with freight brokers who have their own assets. And if you don't have your own assets, you don't have access to that shipper. So it's a good idea at some point, I think, to become an asset-owned freight brokerage. But the question is, when is the time right for you? I think we have to examine ourselves as business owners and know who you are. Now, this is a good place to segue into why I wouldn't start a freight broker business and a trucking business at the same time, and why I haven't added a trucking business to this point. Number one, I realize that I am not a multitasker, right? I know everybody thinks they're good at multitasking. But if we really look at the results that you get when you try and do multiple things at one time, if you really start to examine the results, you might find that you're not good at multitasking either. And when you're doing two businesses at one time, you certainly have to be good at multitasking. When I try to do too many things at one time, I end up not getting much done at all. I realize that I have to focus and concentrate. I got to be really focused on something in order to do that thing really, really well. I have no interest in being a jack of all trades. I want to master something. And I know that in order for me to master anything, I have to put my all. I have to put all of my focus, all of my concentration on that one thing in order to be really good at it. Now, another reason why I didn't start both of these businesses at the same time is because of the expense that comes with two businesses. You see, I look at a business as an expense, as an additional cost that I'm bringing into my household. And I knew when I first got started, I wasn't in a position to bring two additional expenses into my household. A freight broker business has its costs. It has its expenses that come with it. And then if I add a trucking business to that, then I'm adding even more cost on top of that. And I knew that I wasn't in a position to do that just yet. I think it's a good idea to make sure you're standing on firm financial ground before you start a second business. Next, I think it's important to understand what a challenge you're facing to make one business profitable. When you don't know anything about a business, you have to come in and learn the money-making activities. And then you have to execute, and you have to do that over and over and over again. And you have to make consistent income. That takes time. That takes a lot of energy and effort. And for me, doing that in one business was more than enough. That's what I have to pay most attention on, how to make this one business profitable. And not just make it profitable, because once a business is profitable, it doesn't mean that it just stay that way. You and I have to make it stay that way. So it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of intelligence to move a business from zero and then to have that business go and start making profits and maintain profitability. It's going to take a whole lot from you as a business owner. So before you jump into something else, make sure you have a handle of what you're currently working on. Find out how you can make one business profitable before you start to make a second one profitable. And for me, I don't know about you, but I don't want to work all the time. I want to spend my time doing some of the things that I want to do. Yes, I enjoy working. Working fulfills me, but I don't want to do it 24/7. I want to be able to enjoy my life as well. When I'm running one business, that takes a lot of my time, a lot of my energy. And I don't get to spend as much time with my family as I would like. Just imagine trying to run two businesses. How much of your time do you think that's going to take? Most of it, if not all of your time. You're not going to have time to do the things that you want to do, especially when you first get started. Now, as you get used to the businesses and you start to manage them better, maybe you'll have more time to spend. But I know in my freight broker business, doing it on a daily basis, it takes a lot of my time. So I don't want to jump into a second business and give even more of my time to work. Now, if you have a freight broker and a trucking business and you're running those as one business and it's going well for you, please share your experience in the comments below so we can learn from you as well. And if you're running a trucking business and a freight broker business and it didn't go so well, let us know in the comments as well. I want to thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I certainly hope this information was helpful. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, I'll leave a free link in the description. It's my 5-video series and it's titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It'll give you a chance to come into the office with me and watch me as I move loads, I talk to shippers and carriers to give you a better understanding of how this business works before before you come into it. And then if you want to know more about working as a full-time freight broker and leaving the part-time stuff alone, I'll leave a free video right here. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.